Hi, I'm RevelOGM and welcome back to part 2 of making Vex in Pathfinder 2nd edition. This week we're levelling her up to level 9. Very exciting. But first a quick correction, I mixed up the longbow's deadly trait with the fatal trait. I should have said this. On a critical hit, the weapon adds a weapon damage die of the listed size, d10. Roll this after doubling the weapon's damage. This increases to 2 dice if the weapon has a greater striking rune and 3 if it has a major striking rune. For instance, a rapier with a greater striking rune deals 2d8 extra piercing damage on a critical hit. An ability that changes the size of the weapon's normal damage dice doesn't affect the ability of the deadly dice. So yeah, mistake for there, thank you for picking up in the comments. And as always, just a general note that I'm not a power scaler or anything like that. These are just making things because it seemed like a fun thing to do and experiment with, but if there are more optimum builds out there, feel free to let me know down in the comments, but I may not necessarily get those. It's not necessarily what I'm going for, but it was interesting to see what other people would choose when making these characters. Okay, so onward. What has Vex been up to since we last saw her? Well, she got petrified by a basilisk in a fight, but was freed by Vax. Got Percy to give her all his money, was nearly frozen solid in a different way by a dragon, but Vax managed to save her getting frozen instead. Found out she had a half-sister, nearly lost Trinket when God caused them to charge through a room of traps, not sure that was a very good idea, and castrated a troll. And discovered a rug was a magic carpet, so, you know, quite the journey. Right, we're going to quickly skim through 5e Ranger, will be very quick, but if you do not care about this at all, or you already know it by heart, time code on the screen, you can jump to Pathfinder stuff. At level 2, Rangers choose their fighting style. Vex, of course, takes archery. You get a +2 bonus to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. Awesome. She also gets spellcasting. No cantrips, but 6 spells by 9th level, 4 first level slots, 3 second and 2 third. We'll cover those at the end. At 3rd level you get Primeval Awareness and your Ranger archetype, now called a Conclave apparently. Beginning at 3rd level you can use your action and expend 1 Ranger spell slot to focus your awareness on the region around you. For a minute per level of the spell slot you expend, you can sense whether the following types of creatures are present within 1 mile of you, or up to 6 miles with a few of their favourite terrain. Aberrations, Celestials, Dragons, Elementals, Fae, Fiends and Undead. It doesn't reveal the creature's location or number. So it's like a Paladin's Divine Sense, but more nature-y. It has a wider amount of creatures that it can sense, but also it requires your spell slots. It's not just an innate thing you can use a certain amount of times. Vex is, of course, a Beastmaster, so Trinket can now throw down in battle too. There's more details on the Ranger page about the finer details, but being a Beastmaster means you've got a beast, that's Trinket. Now later, of course, this got revised to the Beast of the Land, Beast of the Sea, Beast of the Air thing, and it's just, you kind of flavour it around that. But initially, it was not this. Instead, you'd gain a beast companion that accompanies you on adventures and is trained to fight alongside you. You choose a beast that is no larger than medium and has a challenge rating of a quarter or lower, as per what you've got in the player's handbook. And you can add your proficiency bonus to its AC, attack rolls and damage rolls, as well as saving throws and skills that it's proficient in. Simple max equals its normal maximum or 4 times your ranger level, whichever is higher. And like any creature, it can spend hit dice during long rest. Now Trinket themselves is a variant of a brown bear. By the looks of it, they've got some boosts from the ranger abilities and also from armor and things like that. So by 9th level, Trinket has an AC of 18, 45 hit points, strength of 19, dex of 10, con of 16, intelligence of 4, wisdom of 13, charisma of 7. They have keen smell, giving them advantage on perception checks that rely on smell, multi-attack, so they can make 2 attacks with their bite and their claws, and both of those are +5 to hit, reach 5 foot 1 target. The bite is 2d6 plus 4 slashing, and the claw attack is 1d8 plus 4 piercing. So, it's not awful damage, of course, but it's not magical at this point, and those hit points are very low. It's fun. It just doesn't scale hugely well, unfortunately, at the later levels, as we do discover with Vex, but it's a very cool thing to have, and something that I'm pretty sure is at least somewhat sorted in the updated and newer versions. Level 4 is ability score increase, so that ups Vex's dex to 20, and then level 5 gives us extra attack and proficiency bonus increase. Level 6, Vex gets another favourite foe and terrain, Fiends and Underdark, which fits with some of the adventures they were going on during these times. Level 7 is another Beastmaster upgrade, Exceptional Training. Beginning at level 7, on any of your turns where your beast companion does not attack, you can use your bonus action to command them to take the dash, disengage or help action on its turn. This was later boosted so that the beast attacks are now magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage, but technically that wasn't there at the start. But yeah, it gives them a few more options to do in combat if they're not directly attacking. Level 8 is ASI, where she takes the Observant feat. You're quick to notice details in your environment. You gain the following benefits: increase your intelligence or wisdom by 1 to maximum 20. If you can see a creature's mouth while it is speaking a language you understand, you can interpret what it's saying reading its lips, which Vex uses quite a bit. And you have +5 bonus to your passive wisdom perception and passive intelligence investigation scores. So that's the second correction for the day as well. Wisdom or intelligence should have been 1 lower because it gets increased by 1 here, alas. Level 8 is also a little different for the ranger in that it gives us land stride as well as our ASI. Moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs you no extra movement. You can also pass through non-magical plants without being slowed by them and without taking damage from them if they have thorns, spines or a similar hazard. In addition, you have advantage on saving throws against plants that are magically created or manipulated to impede movement, such as those created by the Entangle spell. It's certainly a niche, but it makes a lot of sense for rangers to have, and if you get to use it, it's pretty damn cool. And level 9 is nothing. Well, +4 proficiency bonus and our 2 third level spells, but nothing else. Okay, so with that, Dex is at 20 and our Wisdom or Intelligence has gone up by 1, but I got that wrong before. Strength saves are still low at +4, Dex at +11 though, which is good. Highest skills are Acrobatics and Stealth, both at +9. Passive Wisdom is now like 21? Sheet says 22, it's above 20 either way, it's very good. Studded Leather and a Ring of Protection, +5 Dex means 19 AC, and hey, that works out. Initiative +5, still speed of 30 feet. Braces of Archery ups the attacks for the bows again, so those are now +13, which is very high. The longbow also now has a blood-seeking ability, which allows it to do extra damage, and of course, the blazing bowstring, allows it to do, I think, D10 additional fire damage. For spells, no cantrips for rangers, but she has Hunter's Mark, Hail of Thorns, Pass Without Trace, Protection from Poison, Conjure Barrage, and Lightning Arrow, which is spell save DC of 14 and +6 spell attack bonus. Okay, so over to Pathfinder. At level 2 in Pathfinder, we get a class feat and a skill feat like we do every even level with every class, plus potentially some little extra bits here and there, but this is usually all we're going to get. We've chosen for the class feat, Favoured Terrain. This isn't a given in Pathfinder, it depends on what kind of range you're choosing to build, but we have taken this here to keep it somewhat close to Vex. You have studied a specific terrain to overcome its challenges. You choose one of a list, we've chosen Forest for this time, and when in that terrain you can ignore the effects of non-magical difficult terrain. And then if you have the Unimpeded Journey class feat, you gain a second benefit while in your favoured terrain, but we don't have that at present. We also chose the skill feat Terrain Stalker, which requires you to be trained in stealth. You select one type of difficult terrain from the following: rubble, snow or underbrush. We've chosen underbrush at this time. And while undetected by all non-allies in that type of terrain, you can sneak without attempting a stealth check as long as you move no more than 5 feet and do not pass within 10 feet of an enemy during your movement. During exploration, this also means you can automatically approach within 15 feet of other creatures while avoiding their notice as long as they aren't actively searching or on guard, which is pretty cool. So we've made Vex much better at sneaking through the underbrush and traversing woodland terrain, which all seems to fit pretty well with her early years of being alone in the woods, honing her craft as a ranger. Level 3 we get a skill increase and we've upped our nature to +9. And we also get a general feat where we've chosen Incredible Initiative, which increases her initiative by +2. Vex always seems to be one who wants to be quick on the draw, acting as soon as she can in the combat. We also get Will Expertise, which increases our will save proficiency to Expert. And level 4, another class and skill feat. We've chosen Favoured Prey, again, not a given here. These are, of course, dragons. You've studied a specific type of wild creature and can hunt it more easily. When you roll initiative and you can see an enemy that belongs to your chosen category, you can hunt prey as a free action, designating that enemy. You can use this free action even if you haven't identified the creature yet with recall knowledge. The benefit doesn't apply against favoured enemies disguised as other creatures, of course, and the GM determines what it applies against. But it allows you to hunt it for free. It's very cool, very useful. We also took our skill feat Bargain Hunter from being trained in Diplomacy, which allows you to earn income by using diplomacy, spending your days hunting for bargains and reselling at a profit. You can also spend time sniffing out specific great bargains on an item, and this works as if you're using earned income with diplomacy, except instead of gaining money, you purchase the item at a discount equal to the money you would have gained, getting the item for free if you earn income that equals or exceeds it. Finally, if you select it during character creation first level, you start off with an additional 2 gold, which we don't here, but it's a fun note to have. Vex loves her deals and her bargaining and her bartering, so this felt like a great fit for her. Level 5 is always the big one. We've chosen another skill increase to up our stealth to plus 13. We get ability boosts, which have upped our wisdom to plus 3, our intelligence to plus 2, charisma to plus 3 as well, getting a bit higher than 5e Vex now, and our dex is halfway to being plus 5. We also get another intelligence skill because we gained another intelligence point, so we've put that into thievery for things that might happen down the line. We also get an ancestry feat, which we've chosen as forest stealth, which is one action and is an elf feat and requires you to be an expert in stealth, which we are. The requirements are you in a forest or jungle environment near an environmental feature that would allow you to take cover. You're skilled at quickly hiding behind bits of underbrush or foliage. You take cover and then use that cover to hide. Allows you to do multiple actions much faster, and again fits with Vex essentially being one with woodland environments. We also get range of weapon expertise. You gain every advantage from your weapons. Your proficiency rank for martial weapons, simple weapons, and unarmed attacks increases to expert, and you gain access to the critical specialization effects of all such weapons and unarmed attacks when you are attacking your hunted prey. So it's a bit more specific than with some, but most of the time you are going to be aiming for the hunted prey, and so it doesn't really matter, and it makes a lot of sense. We also get Trackless Journey, which is when you move through natural terrains that you are hard to track. You always gain the benefits of the cover tracks action in such terrains without moving at half your speed, which is very awesome. Makes those Dust of Tracelessness ballet things that Grog does maybe a little bit less useful, but they're still fun. Level 6, we've chosen Mature Animal Companion, because Vex loves Trinket and would always love Trinket to be able to do more, and we have the options for that here in Pathfinder, so we're going to take them. Your animal companion becomes a mature animal companion and gains additional capabilities. They gain greater independence, and during an encounter, even if you don't use your command and animal action, your animal companion can still use one action on your round to stride or strike. Similar to what they could do with level 7 in 5e with the dash, disengage and help, but it can still be a combat action. It can do this at any point during your turn as long as you aren't currently taking the action, and if it does, it's all the actions that get that round, you can't then command it later. This also allows us to boost our animal companion again a little bit more in a few levels, and also means that they are now medium sized rather than small. We also took Armoured Stealth, which requires us to be an expert in stealth again as our skill feat. And this means when you wear non-noisy armour with which you're trained, your stealth penalty check is reduced by 1 to a minimum penalty of 0. And then if you're master in stealth, the penalty is reduced further. This is useful for Vex because her studded leather armour does usually give a penalty of -1 if you do not have a positive strength modifier of +1, and she has a +0, which means she will be taking the -1, but it is reduced to 0 because she has armoured stealth. At level 7 we get another skill increase, and we increase our acrobatics to +15, which is expert. These have all been increasing to expert so far. We also took the general feat Slippery Prey, which requires you to be trained in acrobatics or athletics. You're able to escape the bonds more easily than others, and when you attempt to escape using acrobatics or athletics, you reduce the multiple attack penalty for repeated attempts to -4 and -8 if you're trained in the skill. And if you become master in the skill, -3 and -6. And if you're legendary, you don't take them at all. However, they still have the attack trait, and so if you did an attack after escaping, that multiple attack penalty still applies. Vex's fortitude and strength being rather low means she can be easy to grapple. This makes it easier for her to try and get out. We also get a whole bunch of other things. Natural reflexes. Our proficiency rank to reflex saves is now master, and when you get a success on a reflex save, you instead get a critical success. Perception mastery means our perception is now increased to master level as well, and weapon specialization means we now deal 2 additional damage with weapons and unarmed attacks that we are an expert in, and this increases to 3 if we're master and 4 if we're legendary. Again, you don't really add dex damage and things like that to range weapons, so this does just give us a flat out +2 boost to our damage here. Level 8, we've chosen the class feat Initiate Warden. You'll have noticed we've not been talking about spells, and that's because rangers don't get them by design in Pathfinder unless you choose to become a warden. Often you do this earlier, but we had other things to be taking because we wanted to do Beast Companion stuff, but we want at least a little bit of magic because Vex does utilise her spells every now and then, so we have taken Initiate Warden, which is you trained with one of the ranger sects known as Wardens, who practice a special type of primal magic. You gain your choice of a Warden spell from the Initiate Warden spells, and you can take this multiple times to choose different spells. Now most of that's just kind of flavor text fluff, but the spell we've taken is the focus spell Heal Companion. A reminder, focus spells we gain if you spend time to refocus outside of combat. So you can use them in pretty much every combat as long as you've got enough time to refocus. Heal Companion is 1 to 3 actions and is a focus, healing, range of vitality spell. It has a range of touch or 30 feet and targets your animal companion. You heal your animal companion's wounds, and this is upscaled now to level 9, which means you restore 5d10 hit points to your animal companion. The number of actions you spend casting determines the range and the parameters. For 1 action, it has a range of touch. For 2 actions, it has a range of 30 feet and restores an additional 40 hit points to the target. And that's it. It's 1 or 2 actions, not 1 or 3 actions. Don't know where I got that from. I think I was running up with the general heal spell. But this is really powerful. 5d10 plus potentially 40 at range 2 is nearly enough to fully heal Trinket. So that's really awesome and pretty damn effective. We've also taken Nimble Crawl as our skill feat from being an expert in acrobatics. You can crawl incredibly swiftly, up to half your speed rather than 5 feet, and then if you're master in acrobatics you can crawl at full speed. If you're legendary, you aren't off guard while prone. We're not any of those just yet, but it means we can crawl much faster, which just makes sense. Finally, level 9, we increase our nature to be master. We get the ancestry feat Tree Climber from being an elf, which means we now have a climb speed of 10 feet, again for climbing up trees and all that kind of stuff. We get Nature's Edge, which means that you always find the weak points in your foe's defences when they're on unfavourable terrain. Enemies are off guard to you if they're in difficult terrain. And Ranger Expertise increases our Ranger DC to Expert. And if we have Warden spells, which we do, your proficiency rank for the spell and spell DCs also increases to Expert. Obviously we've only got a healing one for Trinket, so that doesn't matter quite as much, but it's technically there. And there we go. We have updated our equipment a little bit. We haven't taken braces of archery or anything like that, like Vex has in 5e, because adding to attack makes it highly likely you're going to crit things, and that's a lot more damage, so we don't want to mess with the math too much. But we have increased our leather armor to be +1 resilient studded leather armor, because that is all within the levels that we are, which means that it does an extra +1 to our AC and +1 to all of our saving throws. So keep that in mind when we cover those in a moment. Our bow is also now a +1 striking flaming longbow, which is quite a mouthful. We can't exactly do the blazing bowstring here, or we could without a little bit more complications, but +1 means it's +1 as you'd expect, and striking means we increase the number of damage that it does. So this is now a 2d8 +2 from our weapon mastery, plus 1d6 fire damage, and it does 1d10 persistent fire damage on a crit. Our longbow is also now +18 to hit, and with all of that additional item bonus stuff, we'd have an AC of 27. Okay, we'll cover other little bits and pieces like what all of our skill scores are at and our saves. We'll have a look at how things now look compared to 5e, because, you know, they are quite different. In 5e, we have between 62 and 71 hit points, depending on, I think, Hero's Feast or something like that. In Pathfinder, it's a bit higher at 98 hit points. AC of 19, which is solid for 5th edition, versus 27 in Pathfinder. We have a speed of 30 feet in both, which is a bit faster than usual in Pathfinder and standard for 5e. Attributes being -2 strength, 5 dex, 0 con, 2 intelligence, 2 wisdom, 3 charisma, versus 4 dex, 0 strength, 0 con, 2 intelligence, 3 wisdom, 3 charisma, are pretty close but not exactly the same at this point. We need another boost, which we will get next level, to increase that dex up to +5. And other things, however, are already ahead and are going to keep on moving that way because of how the attribute system works in Pathfinder. 8 skills, highest being acrobatics and stealth at +9 in 5e, compared to our 10 skills that we have in Pathfinder, with nature being our highest at +18, and then stealth at +17, and acrobatics at +16. Our saves are +11 in dex, and then +4 in strength and wisdom and intelligence, and +5 in charisma, because our strength is that bad that the other skills are nearly as good as it. Or +14 for fortitude in Pathfinder, +20 reflex, and +17 for will. And also, if we get a success on reflex saves, we get a critical success instead. Perception, we have a +6, with our passive being up at like 22, which is really good, and initiative of +5 versus a perception of +18, and then if we're using that for initiative rolls, that's a +20, which is very, very good. Attack bonus +13, very solid again. We've got those 2 bonuses for at the very least using bows, whereas across the board pretty much if it's a weapon we're proficient with, we're on +18 in Pathfinder with our +1 from our longbow anyway. 1d8 +7 damage for 5e, plus the various bowstrings excluded, and 2 attacks now of course, means on average doing about 18 damage excluding the bowstrings, or hunted prey, hunter's mark stuff. Likewise in Pathfinder, 2d8 plus 2 plus 1d6 is 15 for one hit, roughly 22 if we're factoring in that we maybe get a second hit, and that's not including the deadly trait or hunter's edge either. So similar amounts of damage, just different ways of proccing it, I suppose. And then Trinket has AC 18 and 45 hit points, and now has multi-attack in 5e, whereas they've got AC 27, so as good as Vex does, nearly as many hit points with 89, and has better fortitude saves than Vex as well. And the other fortitude and the other saves and perception modifiers are not too far behind either, so definitely keeping up a bit more. Plus 89 hit points means if you're decently on that heal companion, you can nearly heal Trinket back to full once per combat. Other abilities and things are obviously very different. The way that hunting prey works and difficult terrain and favoured terrain and all that stuff is quite different. And we've already covered that, so we're not going to go over that again. And then obviously we have a whole bunch of spells in 5e, and we've just got our one focus spell that's very powerful, but, you know, is a very niche thing comparatively to all the stuff that we get in 5e. So they're quite different. So there we go. That is Vex. Still very much feels like a ranger, still very good at navigating through terrain and doing hunter's mark stuff, essentially using her bow and utilising Trinket, hopefully, if anything, without Trinket going down as easily as they do in 5e. But certainly some differences starting to appear between the way that the two classes work here. We've only got one character left, well, only one character left for a few levels anyway. Obviously we have one more person we'll need to talk about down the line, and that will be very interesting. But for now, Pike is the only one that we've got to do, a cleric, which will be very cool to have a look at. But for now, that's all we've got time for. Let me know how you would have made Vex any differently. I'm sure there are some changes or some things that could have been done in a different way that may be more accurate or potentially more powerful. And it's always very fun to see what people have to say about alternate builds down in the comments below. So please leave a comment down there if you've got any things you do differently. And of course, if I have mixed up any rules or traits, please let me know as well so that I can amend that. But I think I was more on the ball for this one. So that's it. Hopefully one more video out before Christmas, but I'm going to be taking a break from end of December to early January because, yeah, I'll be off work, but this is still work in a sense, even though I do really enjoy doing it, and I just need to have a bit of a pause. So if I don't see you, have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever you're celebrating, and I'll see you in the new year. And if not, I guess I'll just repeat this end bit next time. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.